everybody. Kitchen Mad Scientist back here again, and it's August 1st, so today we are going to be making my homebrew liquor. And I had a little Hispanic guy give me this recipe, so we're going to be going through this. Now, first thing I do is I get a 5-gallon jug, and I wash it out real good. And you can get these products at any homebrew store, or Amazon, order them online or whatever. But this is a Seabright cleanser, and this is what cleans out your vat and stuff, or your jug. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 of these to about 2 gallons of warm water. Okay, I got 1 gallon in there already. So we're going to put another gallon of warm water in here. Okay. So we have added 2 gallons of warm water here to this bucket. And like I said, this is a sterilizer that will sterilize your equipment here. Or your vat. We'll mix that up because it's a powder. Real good. And then just pour this in. You just want to mix this around real good so it gets all the inside clean. And we're just going to dump it out. Okay, so now we've done our sterilizing of our jug, and we've rinsed it out really good with hot water. And now we're going to go to actually starting our home brew. Okay, now this is the most important part. I use champagne yeast, and like I said, you can get this at any brewing, supply store or get it online. And I'm going to use 2 packages. And we want warm water, and I've got a candy thermometer here, and we want our water between 100 degrees Fahrenheit and 105. Because if it's too hot, it's going to kill the yeast. If it's too cold, it is not going to start activating. So we're going to add our yeast to the water. And then we're just going to put this up here just to dissolve it. Okay, so then we're going to take our funnel. We're going to pour this in. There's our yeast base. Okay, got sugar. What we're going to do, we're going to put 2 cups of sugar in. Okay, now the reason we're adding sugar is because this will feed the yeast. Now when we add the fruit, this is the process that will cause it to ferment, and this will actually start making the alcohol. So we got our sugar. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add some water. This is 105 degrees, so it doesn't kill our yeast. And we're just going to add more water. We'll eventually be adding water all the way up to here. Okay, now we just want to stir this around, mix it all up. Okay, now you can see the bubbles on the top. That means the yeast is starting to feed and causing the air bubbles. Alright, now that this is good and mixed up and the sugar is pretty much dissolved, we are going to start adding our fruit. Okay, now as you can see, I have several different kinds of fruit here. I've got pineapples, blackberries, a couple of mangoes, a couple of plums, strawberries, cherries, blueberries. You can use whatever kind of fruit you want. Bananas are not a good thing to use because something to do with the chemical reaction and the potassium. It doesn't do well. Blueberries and like cherries who have a thick skin, you want to like mush them. So I usually just take a potato masher here and just mash them all up. That way it's easier for them to ferment. And then you just start adding your fruit to your jug. This is the tricky part, getting it in the little tiny nozzle here at the top. But you just want to start doing your fruit. Like I said, cut them up. Cherries you can just cut in half. You can either leave the pits in them or remove them. It's up to you, because eventually when this is done fermenting, we will be straining this fruit off. So I'm going to cut up the rest of this stuff and add it. Okay, so we've got our fruit in here. I'm going to mix this all up, and I can smell a really yeasty smell. So this is good, because that means our yeast is starting to work. And what we're going to do is we are going to add 2 more cups of sugar. And we are going to start adding water until it's about up to here. Now, I've got my candy thermometer here, and this is 101 degrees. So, okay, so we are going to keep adding warm water, 100 degrees to 105, until, like I said, it's about up to here. Okay, so I've got all of my fruit now in here and my water up to here, and this is ready to go. I also have a cap here, and as you can see, it's got a hole in the top, and this is going to fit on here tightly. Now, air is your enemy, so you do not want air. And do not cap this tightly, because I learned the hard way, it explodes if you do not, and then your kitchen will smell like a brewery. You can go to any hardware store and get this rubber tubing, or vinyl tubing, whatever you want to call it, and I've got it to where you get the size that it fits tightly in this. Now remember, air is your enemy, so you want it airtight. Now, as this bubbles and ferments, boiling and all of this is good. This is what you want. What I have is a tube here, and I have a bucket of water beside it. I'm just going to put this tube down in here, and when I get it down to where I'm going to keep it, I'll have this in here tightly. But you want to keep this in so that the air can go out into the water, but no air can get back in through this hole. So as this ferments, it's going to be bubbling. Okay, what we're going to do though is once a week we are going to take this cap off, and we are going to put 2 to 3 cups of sugar in once a week. Pick a day that you can remember to do this, and as it's bubbling and stuff, this is good. Now in about a month we are going to skim off the sludge and the fruit and everything that is in here. So this is going to be the end of part 1, and we're ready to put this in our closet and just let it ferment for a while. And like I said, don't forget to add your cup of sugar. And let's do a recap real quick. 5-gallon jug, and you want to sterilize it with your cleanser from any brewery supply store. I use 2 packages of champagne yeast. You can also use wine yeast. There's several different kinds. There's dry wine, sweet wine. I just happen to like the champagne because it gives a little bit of fizz. And you want to use fresh fruit. Frozen, you don't get the best flavor. So that's why I do this in the summertime. Fresh fruit is the best. I have pineapple, plums, you can put any kind of fruit. Bananas, they really don't ferment well and can cause, a problem. So I don't recommend bananas. And then you just want to add sugar to this once a week, and as long as it's boiling and bubbling, and if for some reason it quits bubbling and boiling, add a little bit more sugar, because that means the yeast has eaten up all of, the sugar that is in here. But this yeast needs a constant source of sugar and to feed on to ferment the fruit. So, and then just have your airtight container like this, and then we'll wait in about a month and skim this off, and we'll come back for part 2. Hello everybody! Well, it's been a month, and excuse the work clothes because this gets a little messy at this point. But it's been a month, and our brew has been brewing pretty good, bubbling and everything. But now's the time to strain off all of the fermented fruit and stuff. So what I do is I get a food quality 5-gallon bucket and a large colander. Just set that in the top. Like I said, this gets messy, but we just pour this through, and it's just going to strain all the fruit out, hopefully. You just want to work this out and get this all out. Like I said, you want to wear work clothes because this gets messy. Ta-da! I smell like a brewery. Okay. Now what I do is I take and rinse the bottle out with hot water. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit and drain for a few minutes. So, okay, I've got a regular canning ladle, which is pretty good size, and I just have a smaller strainer. And since I just don't have the strength to lift this bucket at this point, I'm just going to start pouring this back in the jug through the strainer. Until it gets low enough that I can lift it up and just pour it in. Or if you have 2 people to do this. Okay, now before I get all of this back in here, what I'm going to do is we're going to have to add some more sugar. So usually I just take a scoop of the liquor and pour it in with the sugar. And I just mix it up and dissolve it before I pour it into the jug here. So we're going to dissolve that. So just pour that in with the sugar, and then just stir it around to dissolve it. Wish you guys could smell this. It smells pretty good. Okay. So we pour that in, and we're still going to be pouring about 2.5 cups of sugar in every week for about another month. This is why I like the cherries and the plums and the strawberries, because it gives it a really nice deep pink reddish color. So we're just going to finish pouring this in. Okay, so now we've got it all back in the jug, and we've got our 2 cups of sugar. We're going to put the cap back on and put our hose back in. And we're going to set it back here on the ground with a bucket of water so that the air can go out, but it won't be able to go back in. Now the guy at the hardware store who makes his own homebrew also was telling me that he puts a small hole. He has a bucket like this with a lid, and he just puts a small hole and he has a Band-Aid on it so that air can get out, but bugs and air can't get back in. But I've always used the hose method, a little bit more space for the air and bubbles to come out, especially when you're using champagne yeast, because there's usually a lot of bubbles. So anyway, we're going to set this back down, and we're going to continue to add 2.5, 3 cups of sugar every week, because we want it a little bit sweeter than what we want to end up with. And we're going to let it sit now for probably about 2 months. So about 2 or 3 months and then it'll be ready. So thank you for watching, and I hope you get a chance to make some. Hello everybody, Kitchen Mad Scientist back here again, and it's August 1st, so today we are going to be making my homebrew liquor. And I had a little Hispanic guy give me this recipe, so we're going to be going through this. Now first thing I do is I get a 5-gallon jug and I wash it out real good. And you can get these products at any homebrew store or Amazon, order them online or whatever. But this is a Seabright cleanser, and this is what cleans out your vat and stuff or your jug. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 of these to about 2 gallons of warm water. Okay, I got 1 gallon in there already. So we're going to put another gallon of warm water in here. Okay, so we have added 2 gallons of warm water here to this bucket. And like I said, this is a sterilizer that will sterilize your equipment here, or your vat. We'll mix that up because it's a powder. Real good. And then just pour this in.